My name is Wale Osborne Oderinde. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and a business advisor, strategist as well. The journey of my life as an entrepreneur has been an interesting one. Right from a youth age, was fortunate to have good people around me, growing up in a large family. Being an African child, and I was the 12th in the family, like Joseph. I'm a man of faith, by the way, yeah, so you might, in the process of my shot, find out I keep talking, I'm referring to what I call the book of life. So I was the 12th in the family, the 12th child. So growing up, and I lost my mom in 1986, and that became a different ballgame, and things started turning around, because my father was a technocrat, coupled with the politicians as well, back in the days then, during the days of the military regime in Nigeria. Yeah, so always been interesting. Ever since then, I practically went to high school. It was a boarding school. Everybody in my family went to boarding school, so I was in the boarding school as well. So I started, whenever I come back from boarding school, I will happen to be the only one in the house, and I happen to be the only one in my age group. So out of my siblings, there are like 2, 3 of them in the same age group, so they always have things to do together, travel together, go on holiday together, live in the same city. So I'm the only one in my age group. So whenever I come back from school, I'm just alone in the house. So I think that was a blessing in disguise. Like after a couple of decades after, when I sit down and to really reflect on my life, I discovered it was really a blessing in disguise. Because during the holidays, my father was a technocrat, like I said, so he works in another city, which is about a couple of hours drive from the city we used to live there. So yeah, I will be the only one in the house thinking. So I think a lot, read a lot. He introduced a lot of books to me, the Bible, some books. Or I will pick some of my father's books, I will read them. Whenever he comes back on a Friday for the weekend, sometimes he comes on a Friday, he stays for a couple of hours, then he goes to our home country. Sometimes I go with him. So I get to meet most of his friends. So as a child, as a teenager, I get to see a lot of things that I was exposed to, that my older siblings were not able to see, pertaining to my father and some of his peers as well, and in the city. Then I noticed one thing, most of the times when I go with him to our home country, there's always a dispute to be settled, a conflict within the city, the town, either between the king and some chiefs, he was from a royal, more like a royal family, because the family we're from is a very large family in the home country, and he's been asked to become the chief of the head chief of the family, which he politely and diplomatically declined. And he has his cousin, who was a bit older than him, and to take over the chieftaincy, and the cousin did. So in relative to that, the kings will always send for my father to settle some dispute here and there. So I get to hear some of those things whenever he travels, and I get to meet my grandmother. And by the way, my father was the only child of his mother, so that explains the closeness between him and the mother. So I learned a lot from him, a lot that has really positioned me in life. I mean, about life skills, which I wasn't aware of, that was a future training for me how to manage life. It was more like a mediator and an interpreter, in the hometown. So whenever I don't go with him, I'm there as well. And so, like I said, the king will always call the attention of my dad to settle some discourse within the city, within people, the elites of of the town, the society. So I do learn a lot from there, and that helps me to understand what life is all about. You understand? So if those days, the weekends that I don't get to go with him to the home country, I'm alone in the house, I will read, I will have a few friends will come around, I will go to one of my best friends there that we went to primary school together, but we went to different secondary school, who relocated to America now, you understand? Yeah. So I would go there, I would hear, the mom took me more like their son. So I do learn a lot from there as well, how to, grow and manage a stable family, you understand? Yeah, so that helps to shape my life. After high school, during the high school period, things went bad. Economically, went the other way around for my father. Financially, my father wasn't really too good, and he was a very prudent man. He was a very strict man, very principled. He's not interested in taking bribes and all those things, so I learned a lot from him from that. So when things went bad, there's a lot I did with my father. There was a time there was no food in the house, I remember. It was only between me and him. We had to do with what is left, and it said to me things will be okay. I said I know, and I never mentioned it to any of my siblings till today. I think it was only one not too long ago. So there was a lot that happened between me and my father that most of my siblings were not even aware of. Those days when things were bad, and it was, back in the days then, everybody used to be a farmer. It doesn't matter even if you're a businessman, entrepreneur, a technocrat, a politician, it's part of the culture. You have to have a farm. They believe your farm, it's what will bring food. It's the food that you have to eat in the house. So we used to go to the farm with him and some of my siblings then, whenever they are around, when I was growing up, I remember when things were down and when my mom passed away, my father's other second wife have to make do with what we have. So I think I was the only one in the family that had to handle from the farm produce to go and hawk, to sell, and so that we can get some money and these things. It was for a very short period of time. I think some of my siblings or relatives were not, it didn't sit well with them. So I think they had to stop me to do that, which I enjoy it anyway, because that was where I picked up my entrepreneurial skills, and from some of the books I read, I was busy reading a lot about Bill Gates, about Warren Buffett then. I was just hearing the news here and there, and I would hear Lagos Stock Exchange. My father would show me the shares he bought at UAC, United African Corporation, if I remember, Leventis then. So I was like, wow. So he taught me about it, showed me about business. So I picked interest in business. You can do it. I will ask him questions. I want to do this, I want to do it. He said, you can do it, you can do it. And it was a good thing. It was a good journey for me. Yeah. So after high school, I went to, before high school, there's 2 sessions of high school, which they call the junior secondary school and the senior secondary school. I remember then, I think it started during my era. I did very well. I think I came first, in what we call bookkeeping in high school then. So automatically, the school authority put me in the commercial class. But once my father got to know, he refused. He said he should take me back to science class. And I really love accounting, but my father refused. He stood his ground. So I said, okay, let's fine, yeah. So I went back to science class. I did science class. You have to obey your parents. That's how it goes then. So which was interesting, yeah. I enjoyed it. So, but when I finished my high school, I didn't perform in the YA, we call it YA, the school living certificate. I failed, and my father wasn't happy, so he took me back to the same school. So I had to go back and repeat it again, and that was when I did well. And he said, what do you want to study? And I said, no, I didn't want to do science. That's why I didn't perform. He said, okay, what do you want to study? I said, I want to study accounting, financial management. He said, okay, no problem. So I got admitted into a polytechnic to study financial management. at the which we call a national diploma in financial management. I did it. I performed well. I had the same story as well in my last semester. My main course, which was financial accounting, I did not pass, so I was worried. So I found out what happened, but one of those things, yeah. I had to retake it as well, because then one of my father's cousin was the dean of the faculty, which was the HOD. So my father went to, so I told my father, it's not possible. I mean, this is the first time I will ever fail. Why should I have failed if I'm not a serious student in my last semester to graduate in my main module? It doesn't really add up for me. So my father just said, no, just do it again. He has spoken to my uncle. My uncle has advised I should do it. So I did it. I sat for it. I wrote it again. So by then, there's something they call industrial attachment. So during the industrial attachment, for me to do industrial attachment, I was in Lagos. I did my industrial attachment in an auditing firm. I remember auditing firm. I would go there. I was the youngest then. So the owner of the auditing firm was a woman, a lady. So she put me through. So we were busy doing it, but that was when I realized, no, this is not gonna work for me. Because from there we were auditing a bank, so we would go to the bank. I don't think this is gonna work for me. So I went to my father. I said, I don't think I want to work. I want to do my business. If I go back to that work, I will take what is not mine, and I'm not ready for that. He said, okay, yeah. If you say you want to do business, go ahead. You've got my blessings, but you know the situation economically. I can only bless you. I said, no problem, it's fine. And I started looking out for my own business. So in the process of trying to start my own business, one of my distance cousins, who was a very elderly cousin, and mind you, this was during the military regime. He spoke to this second in command in the country, which was more like a vice president, for the position in the government, for one of my brother-in-law, who happens to be the son of the former premier of the Western region during the military, Lieutenant Adekunle Fajuyi. So they gave him to become what we call the Commissioner of Commerce and Industry, the military administrator, which was the governor of the state. Then May appointed him as a commissioner, and I was seconded to be his personal assistant. I negotiated my way, and that was my entrepreneurial skills there. I negotiated my ways, and my father was like, what are you up to? I said, well, that's a Ministry of Commerce and Industry. I need to learn a lot. I mean, there's a lot I've read about it and this thing. So I became the personal assistant, and that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I was exposed to many things. That was when I got to know a very senior advocate of Nigeria that I've read about his name in the newspaper, in the media, on TV, who happens to be a friend of my father too. They went to the same school together, high school. So its name was Are Afe Babalola. So I got to know him during the military regime when I was serving, because he did the feasibility study of one of the natural water springs of the state. So I read a lot about him, so I learned a lot from there as well. So during the military regime, as a personal assistant to the Commissioner of Commerce and Industry, I learned a lot. I was exposed to the governor's office, which is to a lot of trade and investment in the state, and I used to represent the state as well, the youth, and the governor's office. So picked an interest in me. And the chief security of this officer of the governor invited me one day, and he said, I need you to do some research for us on the economical state of this thing. And I realized you went to school here, so we need you to do some research and study. I said, why not? And that was how I got a relationship. So I learned the principle of discipline from there. It taught me a lot, and they introduced me to a lot of things about governance and how to govern, how to lead. So that helped me. So when the governor decided to change his cabinet, my brother-in-law wasn't made he wasn't made a commissioner again, so there was no job for me. So I wanted to go back home. So but the chief security officer and me and the administrative assistant of the governor called me, and I said, no, don't go. We want you to continue to do the job we asked you to do on the side. Do it, we will take care of your allowances and destiny. And I was doing it conveniently, and that exposed me more to it. So I learned a lot of business there. So after the military regime left and the government was handed over to the civilian government, I have to relinquish my position as a researcher, you understand, and moved to, relocated back to Lagos to move in with my uncle for a while, where my younger sister has been living since my mother went to glory. Yeah. So from there, I spent a couple of months there, and he put me through a computer school. That was when I picked interest in computer science. I did computer science course for a short period of, I think it was for about 3 or 4 months, thereabout, yeah. So I learned a lot about technology from there, yeah. And this was 1999. Then I realized, like, no, if I really want to move in life, I have to take my life in my hand. The decision of my life is in my hand. So I left my uncle's place. Because it was looking after a lot of people, I was like, there was no point of me staying there for too long. I left, I moved in with my older brother, and I stayed with my older brother for a while, and I would travel, I would come back. Then I was traveling around, I was doing few business here and there, buying and selling, trading from the north. And I visited my cousin in Sokoto, an elderly cousin of mine, a dentist in Sokoto. He was shocked, he was surprised and to see me, you understand. I'm very adventurous like that. I'm a big high risk taker. I enjoy losing money, by the way, than making money, and which I hardly get to lose, you understand, yeah. So I visited him, and he was doing his housemanship. They do call it, I believe, in the medical sector or industry, whichever way they say it. He was busy doing housemanship. We are the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto. So I was exposed to that as well. Then I stayed with him for about a week, I believe, a couple of days a week, yeah. So during those days, when there was a time he went to work, and I just decided to say, I want to go to the neighboring country. Then I left from Sokoto, I went to Niger Republic. So people were surprised, what are you doing here? What do you want? I said, I just want to see. And the people of Niger Republic were so friendly. They said, oh, Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. Oh, Yoruba, Yoruba. So they exposed me to a lot of things and showed me how their city lays. And so that's where I got to know about trading in cash crops. And they told me, oh, cash crops, take these, you buy, go sell in Lagos. Buy, sell, Lagos. Buy, sell, Lagos. I said, oh, okay, it's fine. So I did some trading with that. And some of my siblings and people close to me, they would see money with me. They couldn't fathom where those money comes from. They would be wondering, what are you boys, what are you guys doing? Are you sure you are not a armed robber? I said, no. I do trading and here and there. So I pick up a full interest in entrepreneur from there, and it's been fun for me, you know. And so from there, I started to focus more on technology, how I can grow myself, and I didn't go back to school to go study financial, to do my higher national diploma in financial management, because the military regime work took over that, and from there I focused on business. And one of my brother's friend, a very close friend that is very close to me, he told me, why don't you want to travel? You've always traveled and this thing, go see other places in the world. And I think I've been to South Africa, I think you might like it. I've been to London, Europe, you will like it. South Africa is good. I said, oh, okay, no problem. I'll go see. He said, okay, but you've been in government, so this thing is possible, yeah. So I said, okay. So he said to me, there's a conference coming up. Do I want to go attend? I said, okay, let me go attend that conference and see how it's going to be. So he put it together, and this was during the President Obasanjo's regime and Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was the vice president then. Yeah. So he put it together, and I remember the day of the interview. It was very interesting. That was a very interesting day. I've totally forgot about the interview. So he had to come wake me up. I think I went to a party or a outing the day before. So he had to come wake me up, say, you have an interview. Why, visa interview, what are you doing? You are late. So I got ready, and we went, and we got there. There was a long queue. And there was a long queue, and he said to me, what are we going to do? We're going to miss this thing, the interview. And I asked him, say, from what I've learned during the military regime, I'm a good negotiator and this thing. I just spoke to him, say, tell me, is there a business center? Because those days, mostly what we use is a business center where you go to make calls. Or I say, is that a business center? He said, yeah, there's a business center close by Belize in an hotel which is called Ikoyi Hotel, because the South African embassy was at the Ikoyi. So I went there, said, let's go to the business center. We went there, and I asked them, can I use your phone? He said, yeah. I paid them, and he said, what do you want to do? I said, give me the embassy's number. So I called the embassy, and I told them, say, I have an interview inside the embassy, but we are going to attend a conference in your country, and we are going at some of the delegates from the government. And the vice president was in Lagos that day. And I said, are you aware the vice president was in Lagos? They said, yes. So from our government, the state, the vice president has indicated the governors of the state in the region have to follow him to Abuja to do this, and I've been mandated to do some work. Can you attend to me now, or should we come back later? They said, no, we can attend to you. So my friend or my brother's friend was like, what are you doing? Do you think these people are going to give you a chance with this? I said, don't worry. So I dropped the call. Before we walked back to the embassy, everybody was shouting my name. Where, Mr. Wale Osborne, where are you? Coming. So they had to, by the time we walked, it was about a 5 minutes walk. By the time we walked in there, my negotiation skill worked for me. So I was just asked to come in straight. So he was just looking at me. You are such a good negotiator. I walked in, I was offered a bottle of water and a apple. And I said, okay, they did the interview, and they asked me, do you want to wait for the visa, or do you have to go now? I said, well, it depends. If you want me to come back for the visa, I will come back. But if it's something you can do within a couple of hours, and they said, we can get the visa ready in the next 1 hour. I said, okay, cool. That will be okay. So I waited, I got my visa on the spot within an hour. Then I came out, and everybody was like, what is going on here? I said, well, we all different manner in sizes, and life is in phases. So that was how I came to South Africa. I attended the conference, and I liked the country. And I said, oh, wow, this is more, and there's what I always call South Africa. I said, I always call joke that South Africa is American in Africa. So in terms of economy-wise, in terms of structure, system, and processes. So I like it. This is a well-established economy, and it's got a good system and processes in place, good structure. So if you really know what you're doing, you can make it good in this country. So I decided to come back to start a business. Remember, I was doing a trading business in Nigeria, which was a cash crop. So I was used to cash crops. So I realized there was apple. They do a lot of apple export out of South Africa. So I said, I can start with this. From there, then I start growing. So I made contact with some of the apple, the farmers I remember in KZN, in Dundee, Newcastle, and all those areas. Yeah. So I relocated to South Africa. Then I started those trading. I will export, and the apple wasn't allowed to be exported to Nigeria directly. It was very expensive. So what I would do is we would get a container, send it to the neighboring country, Benin Republic, and either we sell it there, or from there, the buyers from Nigeria will come to the border to come and buy it from us. So it was working for me, you know. But things turned around. I lost everything. There was a day I came back because I would always have to travel to KZN to meet some of and I came to South Africa in 2000, and this was 2002. I remember it was very close to my birthday in May. So I came as a businessman, as an investor. I came with good money. I started the business. So I came one day and I was in a relationship with a beautiful South African lady from Western Cape Town, who was a lawyer, you know, as a then, but only to realize she was a, a paralegal. So I came back one day from Dundee, I remember, came home and everything was empty. She took everything and left. I was like, okay, wow, what's going on? So by the time I tried to get out of her here and there, I couldn't, and I think that was what they always say, you welcome to Joburg. Yeah, so that was my welcome to Joburg story. So I had to start all over again. So things were not rosy as it used to be, and the containers were sent to Benin Republic, Cotonou. We were as well swindled. We didn't get the payment that we were supposed to get. So I had to start all over again. So I sent messages home to my siblings to play, because I left money at home to please. Some of the money I left at home, can you please send it to me? Or they've borrowed it, or they lent it and they've used it. So I had to start all over again. So I picked up myself. So that was some of the lessons I learned. It was very tough, but I have to do it, you know. And ever since then, it's been very good. And some of the lessons I learned about life principles back at home from friends, and most of my friends, by the way, most of them were very much far older than me. I think the youngest of my friend, my very close friend, that taught me about life skills, I think the youngest should have been minimum of about 10 years older than me. I used to have friends that would be like 20, 30, 40 years older than me, old people. I would just go around them, learn things, I ask them, why are you doing this? Why do you do this? Why is that person trying to get you hungry? I mean, insult you, but you are not responding. What is going on? They said, no, don't worry, my child, you will get to know in life. You don't respond to everybody. So I learned a lot in the process of growing up. And I remember before I continue on starting all over in South Africa after I lost everything. I remember then back in Nigeria between 1999 and 2001, I remember vividly. Yeah, there was a particular man, a Nigerian man, that lives in New York. He used to come to Nigeria on holidays with his daughters, 2 daughters. So whenever he comes, he will call me, Wale, where are you? I remember his name, Mr. Ade. He's from New York. He was a financial accountant. So that was why I picked interest in him, and that was why he picked interest in me. He said, you study financial management, good. I'm a certified financial accountant. I think they say CPA in the US. Yeah. If I'm correct, I don't know what they call it, but it was an accountant in the US, practicing one. So they would say, no, you can do this, you can do that. I said, oh, wow. So you have your own accounting firm, and they say, yes, so you can do that. I said, but I want to do business. He put me through. So whenever he came to Nigeria 2 or 3 times, so he would call me. So that if he's in Nigeria for 2-3 weeks, he will call me, or sometimes 2 months. He will call me and say, Wale, I want you to be with me, so that because with my kids, so that you can be able to assist us and see some of the things I do as well. So I learned a lot from him, business skills and life skills as well. And he introduced me to his older brother, who was a lawyer in Nigeria as well, a senior advocate, who was doing business too on the side. So I learned a lot from that man, some of the things I learned from him. So I had to apply it when I lost everything in South Africa to start all over again. So I had to start all over. So I started, I registered my first business fully in 2003 in South Africa. So I started fully the trading again, and things were picking up. And by then, I spoke with my uncle in London, because there was a FMCG business. He was doing food processing. So I spoke to him and said, Uncle, I'm very much interested. I'm in South Africa. He said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah. I would like to set some of the food processing, food product in South Africa. He said, well, if you can create the market, why not? Let's do it. So I started with that. I think we started with if I do remember vividly, I think I started with 1,300 or 500, less than 2,000 pounds. So I started with less than 2,000 pounds. That was the consignment, the first consignment that came from UK, because we had to check what is the trade agreement between Nigeria and South Africa and the trade agreement between United Kingdom and South Africa. So we realized the trade agreement between United Kingdom and South Africa is much favorably economically than the trade agreement between Nigeria and South Africa. So they said to me, you know what, better we send you goods from UK to South Africa so that you can be able to increase your margin than from Nigeria. So we started that and we started growing, and from that pellet, we started with one pellet which was less than 2,000 pounds. It scaled to 2 pellets, 3 pellets. Then I started doing full container, and business was moving. I was selling the food processing, processed food in South Africa, and it was even going. People were coming from neighboring country to buy. And I remember my landlord, then the caretaker of the complex I was staying. She was an old white lady. So there was this crepes, banana crepes, which was not common in South Africa. So I took it to her to say like, oh, can you test this and tell me if you like it? I want to introduce it to the market. So she took it and tested it and was like, oh, Wale, this is very good. I like it. Can I buy more? Can I buy? So I started selling. She said, yeah, I like it. It's sweet. It's sweet. I'm diabetes, but I will eat this. So she created a market for me because she was Jewish. So she created a market for me. She took me all around and introduced me to some of the, some of the supermarkets, some of the stores, grocery stores, and said to me she's going to introduce me to the pick and pay and the likes of the pick and pay and checkers, so that they can be able to have a full chain supply. I said, oh, okay, good. But it started moving, growing, and before I knew it, business was good, so good. But life happens again. 2008, economical crash happened because some of the money I made, I invested it in stock market, and through with my immediate older brother as well, in some of the things we call the multi-level marketing. Then I wasn't very much aware, but when you do business with your siblings, you can't really question more. So I gave him some of the money we invested, but it come 2008, everything was gone, and that was another setback for me, And by then, I was trying to settle down as well, so I had to pick myself up, and that was a very hard downside for me then, because I lost a lot of my investment, and this was during the time of President Obama. An economic crash, a stock market crash, and so everybody was giving an excuse, and so you can't really be asking people to pay back debts and all those things. Yeah, so I had to move from. I remember there was a time I had to move from a 3-bedroom duplex back to a 1-bedroom apartment, and things were really bad. And there was a time I couldn't even afford. Everything went completely down. I had to go back to Scott with a friend of mine in Soweto, I remember, in New Canada. Because before then I was staying in a 1-bed, it was a 2-bedroom, I remember, 2-bedroom, but I couldn't afford to pay my rent then. So they locked up my apartment. It was the simplest. They locked it up. I couldn't have access. So I stayed with him for a while. Then after a while, I went home. When I went home, back to Nigeria, just to see if I can raise some capital to come back and start over. I got to a point when I got to Nigeria, I wasn't able to raise capital. And I thought family would be able to raise capital for me based on our previous experience and with money, here and there, but I realized it wasn't as expected. So it was even a big challenge for me to get $100 to change my ticket to come back to South Africa. So, but I managed. So I came back to South Africa and I had to take my stuff from my apartment and put it in the storage and stay with a friend of mine for like about a couple of weeks. I remember I was staying in New Canada then in Soweto. Yeah, I remember I will roll myself in a blanket like a sausage, in what we call in Nigeria gala. And I will be saying, boy, this is just temporarily. Don't worry. You've been there before. You know how you started. You know how you got here. It's just a phase. It will go. And every of my stuff was in the storage. And since then, and I went back to what they call in South Africa kombi. So, and I used to have a bag. I would put my bag on the shoulder and walk around in my black suit. So people call me the black suit guy. So I know where I'm going. So I will always smile and laugh. Yeah. So some of those stories then, it has been very interesting to get into a relationship. It didn't work. Everything went other way. It was a learning curve for me. So I learned a lot about marriage. That made me to go study what marriage is all about, what relationship is all about. Then I discovered a lot of things like about life, about relationship in business and in life in another level. And that was a learning curve for me as well. That was in 2009 and to from 2010, 11. Yeah, almost about a decade ago. Yeah. So after a while, I registered a skills development company training because I was in a non-profit organization, Junior Chamber International, and I used to give training. So they said to me, but you're good in training, you're good in skills development. Why don't you register a skills training and start? So I registered a skills development, a training development company with a partner of mine. But after a while, because the relationship didn't go well, I bought her out, and she rescinded the equity. So, and I took it over. And that was how I started again. And from there, I was introduced by an elderly friend of mine as well to say, you can do, since you are doing the skills development, you can do training for the government and this thing because you are very good in computer, you're a good negotiator, you are very good in training, facilitating. Why don't you go and register with the government? So I registered with the South African government as a supplier, what we call service provider. And my first training was contract was with the South African Police Services. That was in 2012 or 13, thereabout. Yeah, to train them on computer end user computing. I was like, wow, okay, good. So we did that, and that got me back to my feet. From there, I looked into the private sector and got a deal from the private sector. It was in 7 figures. I was like, wow, this is a good thing. So from there, I started again. And thank God, I got back to my feet and I started divesting. From there, I revived some of my company, my investment holding company, because by then I've learned a lot about investment. So I started my private equity firm, which is what we call investment holding company. So I started my private equity firm formally. Then most of the money I will make, I will put it in my private equity firm and invest in well-established companies. So I started doing a lot of research, then I started getting a lot of mentors in the industry. So they introduced me to a lot of investment strategy, how I can build my own private equity firm and investment holding company. But there's one thing that I've learned in the process. They told me, if you're going to make it in life, there's no hurry. Growth is a process. Life is in phases and men are in sizes. Don't rush, learn the ropes and learn how to grow per time. Time and season is the key. And I say, oh, wow, okay, cool. So that helped me. Growth process, and it comes with patience. You really need to have patience to do this thing. And that helped me a lot. So most of the money we made from the skills development, and so I divested into the investment within company and into the property investment company as well, and the trading. So that's how I started building my group of companies, and today I'm grateful I've been able to build a group of companies. Today we operate in United Arab Emirates, we're registered in United Kingdom, and we're going to be taking it forward. And we're doing business with the nation of Israel and in Switzerland as well. So it's been a great journey. I'm not going to lie. We've been very grateful, and things have been going very good. And challenges has come, which is part of life, because when you need to grow to the next level of life, you have to definitely write a test. So I've developed those thick skin, like you know, when you encounter a challenge, it's always an opportunity. It's not a setback. So, and that's how I've been able to grow myself so far. So it's been good. South Africa has been good to me. I'm not going to lie. And Africa has been good to me. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's been very good. I think so far, I would say I'm grateful as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, investor, and a business advisor, and a strategist.